Hi, welcome to Defying Society and Embracing Faith with Holly and Marisa. This is the podcast where we're going to challenge our societal norms and explore the intersection of our faith and modern living.
Join us as we navigate personal poops. Join us as we navigate thought-provoking conversations, personal stories, and inspirational insights.
Yeah. And this is all our opinion for any of the fact checkers that want to come on here and cancel our YouTube episodes.
Okay.
All right. Yeah. So our last episode got deleted off of YouTube. So if you're on YouTube, I highly suggest watching us instead on Rumble. Because if we happen to say any kind of ideas that might get us canceled, YouTube will cancel us. So our uncensored version of this video and any of our videos to come will be on Rumble, and our censored version will be on YouTube. Our pretty fluffy version.
What did we do last time? We don't know yet.
I don't even. We gave medical disinformation.
Yeah,
and I don't know.
I'm gonna assume it was. Well, I don't even want to say what I assume.
Yeah, I don't know.
We don't know, and then Okay.
Yeah,
that's fun.
Yeah, Rumble is where it's at.
Yeah,
go there. Everyone who's listening. Anyway, so this summer has been kind of on and off with the weather. Yesterday it was freezing, and now it's going to get hot again here in Cleveland. We've been up at the pool.
Yeah.
I've been calling it my sober girl summer.
Sober girl summer.
I had an incident last summer.
The end of summer,
Labor Day. I was, pretty heavily drinking like all summer, I'd say. Like I was up at the corner store getting tequila seltzers and, just always having a drink in my hand.
Yeah, there was a lot of drinking at the pool. It's a large pool with a lot of families.
We have a lot of friends and it's a lot of fun up there. Like we have a really good time, and drinking appeared to make it even funner for me last year.
Yeah.
In my
More
funner. More better.
As my husband says.
And this year, so at the end of the summer, Labor Day, I overdid it. It was 90-something degrees. I was in the pool all day. I didn't eat. I had way too much to drink. And by 3:00, I was stumbling around. Marisa had her finger down my throat trying to gag me.
Sorry. I was like, get that devil out of you, dude.
And almost got divorced over it. It was pretty bad.
Yeah.
It was a bad
it was like being in high school all over again and getting in trouble with your dad.
Yeah. That's exactly how it felt.
It really was. Yeah. I was like,
it was so bad. It was so bad. And then, whatever. So I'm not going to go into too much detail because it got ugly. So this summer, and ever since then, I've been kind of like, why am I drinking?
Right.
What am I doing? Like, why? Because, my husband also comes from a whole family of a lot of drinking, a lot of alcoholism, and he's always been the sober one.
Yeah.
So, like, when we first met,
and he's fun.
Okay, and he's still a good time, but, like, when we first met, like, it'd always be, like, him driving me around and me doing, like, shots and drinking, right? And, like, good passing times. Out at home and
making promises you can't keep.
Yeah, exactly. And it's never a good experience. No. At the end of the day, I'm always like, why did I do that?
Yeah.
And it's just a lot of room for disappointment. So
yeah, that was a little bit scary for me because I had never actually seen you drunk.
Yeah.
So for me, it was like twofold. Like I actually have never seen this woman drunk, and on top of it, she's very sick. Like it was like you had alcohol poisoning, without a doubt. You were sick on another level. That was kind of like messed up. Like that was scary. But like what happens to me when I'm in those circumstances is my anxiety kicks up, not just like what happened to you, but like everybody was so bad.
Like everyone.
That I was like, I don't think that this is a good idea.
Someone's got to be the responsible one. And then mind you, we also had kids up there too.
Yeah.
All of our kids were up there. So
yes, it was a little bit wild. So trying to articulate even to your husband that like, I promise you right now that I'm sober and I don't know what just happened, because it was like you went from 0 to
100.
Yeah. So I'm glad you're okay.
Yeah.
It was a rough patch, but it happened for a reason.
Yeah. It woke me up.
Tell me about your sober girl summer. Are you just trying to minimize, completely cut out? Because you don't have like a drinking problem.
No.
It was more like you would just kind of socially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I would say that the sober girl summer isn't necessarily like cutting out all alcohol. Like, I just feel like it's the intent behind all of it. Like, am I going to the pool just to like catch a buzz and like, you know, laugh? Because I don't need to do that to have a good time.
Right.
And I don't need to do that to have better conversations. Right. So like, it kind of took me a second to reflect back and be like, why? What was the intention behind me drinking and not eating? And where did that come from? And so this year I've kind of made it like a point to like not drink with my son around, number one.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Number two, not drink without having like a game plan either. You know, like I didn't have any, like I just got blatantly drunk, like out of nowhere, and I didn't have any kind of like, my husband wasn't around. Right. He was at home.
Yeah, because he was at the party, but then he left.
Yeah. Right? Yeah. But so.
Yeah, I know it's irresponsible.
It's very irresponsible. So I just figured like if I were to drink, it'd be for like some kind of occasion. It'd be an occasional drink, like as a wedding.
Where, like you have a ride.
A celebration or, you know, and at that point too, like I don't want to be that person either. It's like, oh, let's celebrate. Let's get wasted. You know, like I don't want to do that either. Right. Because I just feel like all your judgment goes away. I remember when I was super, super drunk last summer, I remember like being in my head and being like, I want to sober up. And like, just your judgment call is just, it's gone.
Like you're like, shit. Yeah.
It's gone.
Well, I think I told you this was years ago with a group of my friends. It was like Sunday fun day and everybody's kids were little. And I think I had only had 3. Okay. So that's how little everyone was. So if Annalise was the baby, then that means, you know, everyone was under the age of 5 for sure. Without a doubt.
Yeah.
If Stella was around, maybe, but I don't think so. Anyway, so everyone's kids were little. The oldest were like 5 and 6, me and my girlfriends, my husband's up there. I don't know what happened. It got bad, like real fast. So much so that I like somehow looked around and was like, oh my God, like everybody is like even my own husband, who normally would not be the one to like let loose if like, but I don't know if it was like the sense of we're like at our pool and like we're not far from home. I don't know what the hell happened, but I literally jumped in the pool and started swimming laps.
Just to like
sober up. And I'm not proud of this story. Like I was like, like that was a big eye opener for me because I mean, not everyone could swim. You know what I'm saying? It was just so stupid that it was like you're in your 30s and you're like, you know, I'm still young and fun. You know?
Yeah.
I still look good in my bikini.
Yeah.
Let's party. It's a neighborhood pool. Okay. What are we doing?
I know.
Yeah. So that's a big one. I have a huge problem with my kids seeing people drunk. They're used to the alcohol being around because, you know, in my family, we drink wine, you know, no one is like, you know.
It's just part of the culture.
Yeah, part of the culture. Like,
your dad makes wine.
Right. We're not, dad makes wine. We're not watching our P's and Q's with the kids. Like, you know, I know that when my brother-in-law first came in the family, he had a daughter and like, we would be like talking how we normally would. And he would be like, you know, watch your mouth. And we were like, huh? You know, because like, no one had kids yet, and like, you know, stuff like that. But with the alcohol, they're used to seeing it, being drunk. I actually don't. I mean, I'll have like a glass of wine, but my kids haven't seen me lick loose at all. You know, or if I was, they wouldn't. They didn't notice or something like that. But I honestly don't think they've ever. They tell me like they've never seen. Now that they're seeing adults acting like that, then they know. Now they know.
Yeah. You know what's funny too is I remember like being a kid and then like my my mom's friends would come over, and everyone would, hang around like the bonfire and drink and stuff. And like, I used to think it was cool.
Right.
I used to think it was funny. Like, oh, like that person's really funny when they get drunk. Like, I'm gonna like, I actually like look now, like as a kid, I felt like I was looking forward
Looks fun.
Yeah.
Everyone's laughing, joking around. Yeah, that's true. So my first experience with seeing a bad thing happen was like my 5th birthday. Me and my sister have June birthdays, and my parents had a big party. She was probably turning 10 if I was turning 5. And my mom's dad used to drink like everyone else, but like I remember him being drunk multiple times in my childhood. Great guy, but I remember it. Okay. So clearly it was like, yeah, like it bothered me, or like I noticed or whatever. So on my birthday, he got so drunk that he puked all over this like brand new couch we had on the
oh my,
you're sitting on it on the left side. And I was like, oh my gosh. And so I was also very like germaphobe when I was young. So like this has been a lifelong problem. Like I was like, if somebody touched something, I wouldn't touch. You know what I'm saying?
So the puke really destroyed
it.
it.
The puke. Yeah. I would never. To this day, that couch, which it was a really nice couch. My parents back then didn't have a whole lot of money, so like I would imagine my mom was probably devastated. That couch was in our basement even not that long ago. Okay, my mom kept it for a long time. It was a decent couch. I never sat on that cushion on that side of the couch ever. Okay.
Yeah.
If everybody was sitting on the couch, I would sit on the, like, I don't even think I sat on the couch anymore, to be honest. That's how crazy I was when I was little. So that was like totally like, that's like a core memory. Do you know what I'm saying? I don't want my kids to have those. I remember one time, and I'm not trying to talk bad, like God rest his soul. Like he was a good man, to be honest with you, but I'm saying like family parties, like one time he was really, really mean to my grandma, and he was chasing her around, like, in their backyard. They had like, we would eat underneath this, like, the grapes were growing on not a gazebo, but pergola.
Okay.
And so we would set up the table under there. We would eat under there. And he was like angry, pissed off or something. And he was like chasing her around. And like, that's like a memory. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I can like look back and think about it now. And like, by no means was it like traumatizing, but it's a memory.
Yeah.
I don't want my kids to see like
and we've talked about that before too. When you're a kid, like you hold on to those memories and you don't know how to process it as a kid until you get to be an adult, and you're like, oh, yeah, that's what happened.
Yeah.
You know,
there was another time where we were in Florida for like a soccer tournament, and I was very young. And this guy said something to me, like this one dad on one of the, like it was my brother. So he's like 7 years older than me. So one of the dads of one of the soccer players, we're all eating together. And I just always remember feeling really uncomfortable with the way he spoke to my mom. Like, I was demeaning, super suspicious of him. No, he just obviously was attracted to my mom. Like I can look back at it now and be like,
yeah, he had a thing.
And she's a very pretty lady. Yeah, and I remember oftentimes people hitting on her growing up. We kind of laugh about it now, but I just remember a lot of instances where she would just be like, excuse me, like she would like fight back.
Call him out.
She would be like, I'm married. Like, can't you see my ring? Like, she would be like that kind of person.
Yeah.
But this guy was like flirting, and I could tell, but we were at dinner. There's probably a lot of drinking going on. And I had a maraschino cherry in my Shirley Temple. And I said, do you want my cherry? And he literally said, well, you're going to have to ask your mom.
Oh my gosh. I cannot.
And honestly,
disgusting.
I only told my mom this like a few years ago. Because I was like, Mom, do you remember? And she remembers the situation. She remembers sitting there. She actually remembers that whole circumstance.
Yeah. And
she was very angry.
That's disgusting.
Yeah.
That I would be pretty mad too.
Yeah.
So that's just the thing too. It's just like,
why would a 5-6-year-old remember that if it wasn't totally,
that's so gross.
My instinct was so like strong, and my like level of like not understanding, because I didn't understand that.
Yeah. Well, was he drinking?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, so that's the problem.
You know what I'm saying?
I just feel like you have no filter.
Right.
Your judgment stops. You have no filter. Your behaviors change.
You remember remember me telling you at this party that you had that your little episode? Yeah. That day, everybody was in a big circle in the pool on the shallow end, like mostly women, some men. And the women started talking about the boys and what they look like now.
Really?
And their bodies and their physical fit. I was literally, no.
Okay.
I was literally so disturbed by it because a couple of these women didn't have boys. One of them who started it does have a young boy. So I'm thinking like, what if somebody was saying that about your son in a couple of years? I was disturbed because I have 2 boys.
This is a whole other conversation. It's a
whole
other podcast where we can talk about the inappropriateness.
But do you think
how it's
would
reversed?
say that if they weren't standing around drinking together? That's gross.
That is gross.
And I told you someone was making comments to somebody that's a good friend of my son, and I was like ready to throttle her.
Yeah, I know.
Like I have 0 tolerance for that.
So,
but again, it's like the alcohol, the inhibitions.
I feel like again, like it's a lot of it is the intent, and I can't speak for everybody else when I say like, oh, it's what's your intention behind like all the drinking or what's your intention behind having a drink at the pool or getting completely wasted at a wedding, But I do know that like everything is so glorified on TV and the shows that we watch, social media. It's become like a thing. Like every Friday, like Thursday night, ladies' night, and Friday night, everyone goes to the gas station and grabs. Not everyone, but I'm just saying, like people grab a 6-pack of beer to celebrate, like finishing the week or having a glass of wine to just relax after work. And I just feel like we don't need those things to relax. We don't need those things to, I feel like it's just a way to escape. It's a way to escape your reality. It's a way to escape, whatever your situation is that you're in now, or to cover emotions or hide behind something,
I'm like a celebratory drinker. So like for me, I never was like in a bad mood or sad or whatever, where I'm like, I need to have a drink. I'm stressed. I need to have a drink. I'm tired. For me, it's always been like, oh, we're all getting together, having dinner, we're chatting, whatever. It's like for fun.
Yeah.
So I don't feel like I can truly speak on like somebody who uses it to relax, because that's never been what I would do to relax or to get my mind off things. Because for me, all it does is it emphasizes how I'm already feeling.
Yeah.
So like if I am stressed, I'm just probably going to feel more stressed and paranoid, to be honest with you.
So with that also being said too, like, we're just like focusing on alcohol, but I just feel like people in general use the word stressed out or I need to relax and then overwhelmed, and they go on to something different, whether it be like, it could be weed, it could be shopping, it could be food or whatever.
Yeah.
Social media, scrolling on your phone endlessly.
If we stick to recreational type activities, so if you just say like sobriety, if we just start with sobriety, there are so many things that are like mainstream right now. Like obviously legalizing marijuana and stuff like that has made it like more okay. I mean, I can tell you on a regular basis, I'm confronted with people talking about edibles and like. Even someone at school had mentioned it. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then like mushrooms are big, or like, I don't know, like all those types of, I guess, recreational. Yeah. And then on top of it, we're still battling an epidemic of prescription drugs being abused. I think people are looking to self like medicate or like from whatever they're going through. For some people, like marijuana would do that. For some people, they're trying to expand their mind, and these mushrooms will make them go to another level,
and closer to God.
Yeah. And then like there's always like this excuse of what it's opened your mind to, but at the same time that it might be relaxing you or opening your mind spiritually, if you think it does, it can spiritually open you up to like a lot of demonic things as well. And that's what's like scary about it. And I've noticed a pattern, and I don't want to like skip over to adultery.
Yeah.
But the people that I've been that have been in my life that have dealt with some marital issues. Every single one, to be honest with you, 100% of the people, substance abuse was the start of it.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't like getting drunk and being sloppy. It was like steroids or, leading into marijuana. And then this, like the, you know what I'm saying? The gateway opened and suddenly these people are like open to all these things. And suddenly it's like everything in their life is falling apart.
Well, and I feel like when it starts, it's kind of like a self-seeking pleasure, maybe. And like it just keeps going into like, just keeps going down that rabbit hole of like, okay, I want to start. I mean, no one actually plans on it, going into that direction, I'm sure.
Well, you never know how your brain's going to be triggered.
Right. But like,
and none of us are safe from it.
No. But I just feel like, I feel like ever since I found God too, like I have him to like lean on.
Mm-hmm.
And I just feel like I can't have a relationship with God if I'm under the influence or intoxicated. Like,
no, because the guilt's there. Your head isn't clear.
No. And you start, I mean, like, I don't know. I start lying about things or like hiding from things. Right. And I'm like, what's going
on? You know what someone told me? Actually, I didn't just hear it one time. I've heard it multiple times, but I remember someone in my life said that every time people get sober, the next thing they do is they find God. And I used to think, like, well, I mean, that's kind of true, but that only understanding now, looking back, it's like those people got sober by the grace of God, because they were hurting so bad and they clearly like called out, in most cases, that's how they became, able to control their addictions. In other cases, they made a hard decision. And through that hard decision, when they were seeking something, then, God became clear to them. Do you know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? So, but in all cases, on your own will, I mean, I don't really hear from a lot of people that their relationship with God isn't there. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, right. It's like,
right.
Either he presented himself to you to help you, or through your clarity in recovery, you saw the true light, Yeah. At least that's been my experience and like what
I just feel like to the person who can like, I feel like the people who stand out to me are the ones that don't drink, the ones that stay sober.
We have remember our friends that came to Pete's birthday party.
Yeah.
Okay. The doctor.
And like, and even my husband.
Yeah.
Like he'll be in a party like surrounded by people who drink, and he'll be like, "No, man, I'm good.
Yeah.
And there's always a comment like, "Oh man, you don't drink." Mm-hmm. And he's like, "No, like, why do I need to drink?" He's like, "I have my truck license that I can't lose."
Yeah, that's true.
He's like, "Why do I need to drink? I don't need to drink to have a good time." And like, there's some kind of like self-control.
Yeah.
It's like, and I feel like when I see somebody who like turns down that temptation of wanting something, it's like self-empowerment. Yeah. Like
the first time we ever hung out with our friend Anna and her husband, like as a whole family, this is our friend with 11 children. Her husband, when Peter said, because we were inviting him over and like, do you want anything to drink? Like if we pick, he was like, no, he's like, I'm good. I got to drive the kids, and like, I was like, dang, that's awesome. Like,
I just find so much respect.
It's obviously people. Like, duh, he wouldn't drink. But at the same time, it was like, you can't be out of control. You have a car, even if you weren't driving them, you have that many people in your house
to be looking after us.
Yeah, you can't, nobody can take their foot off the gas. Right? Mm-hmm. And it's really commendable. Like, I mean, thank God all those times that you probably were a little bit, quote unquote, out of control. Not that you were out of control, but whatever. Out of your normal, your husband was the sound person, right? Mm-hmm. You need nothing, it's not going to work out if both parties are crazy. But when you're talking about him losing his, like, him having the potential of, like, losing his ability to work, I was thinking a couple weeks ago, and what bothered me really bad was, like, people putting their kids in their car, even if it's for a short ride, God forbid you or anyone gets hurt.
Mm-hmm.
But like, what if you got pulled over? Like, are you thinking about the major consequences of having small children in your car?
Well, you get
After you've had a couple, like, I don't know the law well enough to know, but I'm pretty sure that's freaking serious.
I know somebody who's done that.
Yeah.
Yeah. The husband had to come pick her up from the police station.
Is there any like child services that get involved in that case, or is it like, oh, you shouldn't have done that, slap on the hand?
I don't think there's any kind of, as long as, I don't know, I don't think anything happened as far as child services afterwards, because the husband was clearly there like, to come pick her up. So I think maybe if there wasn't,
that's scary.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know either. Like, I used to party. I like had my fair share of just insanity.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
For many, many, many years. So this conversation isn't like I'm some,
holier than now. And
yeah, that's not it either. I mean, life has changed.
Either.
Recently turned 43. Like, I see people start their craziness in their like 30s and 40s, and I'm like, what were you doing in your 20s?
I just feel like as like God-fearing women, though,
Mm-hmm.
like I feel like it's almost like our duty to just kind of like help spread the message. Even with this podcast, I think this just hits home with somebody. Like,
normalizing it, like normalizing staying sober versus normalizing margaritas and everything else. Like I said, I'm the first one to be like, oh, it'd be nice to sit down, chill, let's have a margarita on the bed. Like, I'm not saying that's not, but we do need to tone it down. So I wrote down a couple of things here that I kind of wanted to open up with on topic. Okay. And then I know we have other things we want to chat about. So Deuteronomy 14:26, because we want to talk about what does the Bible say about drinking and sobriety.
Yeah. So we posed a question on social media last week, and we asked, is drinking and using drugs a sin? And there was a lot of confusion, I think, by the question. Like, I don't know if people come to the question and just think that we're instantly condemning people for drinking or using drugs, but in my opinion, well, we'll see what the Bible says first, but I don't think it's a sin. I think it's sinful to abuse.
Yeah, exactly.
And
take it too far. Get out of control. So we got two scriptures here that I'm gonna read in there.
And you're in Deuteronomy?
First in Deuteronomy, it says in Deuteronomy 14:26. This is just one example. Use the silver to buy whatever you like, cattle, sheep, wine, or other fermented drink, or anything that you wish. Just multiple places in the Bible, like talking about alcohol, serving wine at the wedding, and so nowhere does it say like
you can't
buy it or drink it. It says in Ephesians 5:18, therefore do not be foolish, but understand what the Lord's will is. Do not get drunk on wine, which leads to debauchery. Instead, be filled with the Spirit. And then it goes on.
Yeah. Proverbs.
So, then Proverbs.
Wine.
Do you have that open?
Yeah, Proverbs 21. Wine is a mocker, strong drink, a brawler, and whoever is led astray by it is not wise.
So everything, I don't want to say everything in moderation, because in our world,
can we do Coke in moderation?
Yeah, clearly no. And here's my take on all that too. Like, if you have an issue, don't do it. Like Pete said, I could mention his issue. He's like, well, if you're going to talk about that, like, I don't mind if you share, because he will openly admit that he can't just have one beer or one drink or whatever. It's just like physically impossible.
Yeah.
So he chooses just nothing if he knows he's cannot control himself. I find that with myself, I'll have a glass, and usually there's like a tipping point where I'm like, that's definitely it. If I go beyond then it's a wild card,
Mm-hmm.
but he's straight up like, there's no point because I will not stop.
Yeah.
And it's not like he's getting hammered and like,
well, I feel like that's a lot of people's problem.
Yeah. And it's like, then you don't feel good. You're full. You feel disgusting.
Hungover the next day.
You don't feel like working out, blah, blah, blah.
It just doesn't lead to anything good. And that's the problem that I have, I think, with alcohol in general. It's just like, even with all the stories that I hear, all the relationships that are ruined, like, I just don't feel like alcohol leads to anything good, which I think
or substance abuse in general.
Substance abuse in general. I mean, too much of anything isn't good, but something, I mean, like, literally, I mean, like, it's poisoning your mind.
Yeah. Well, when I met Peter, I really, we fell for each other hard.
Yeah.
When we were young, and I was a partier big time. And I would like, they would call me Houdini. I would just like disappear all the time. Like, go out with people, then just leave and end up like totally different room, totally different town. Like I just would just go wherever, so I was like, so after like dating for a little bit and like just disappearing on him, like finally he was just like, I'm done. Mm-hmm. Like 1000%. Like, and it was just before Christmas break. So he was going back to South Africa for Christmas and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, like I knew he was actually done. Yeah. Like he was like very much like, I'm not doing this with you. You know what I'm saying? And then like the fear of losing that person that I, so I mean that'll set you straight if someone's like, no, seriously, like I'm done with you. That's ridiculous.
And then you were done.
And then I really was done. So I always like to talk about food during discussions about addiction or excessive anything, because food's a big one.
Food is a huge one.
Right. And a lot of people will go like, oh, I don't drink, I don't do this, I don't do that. But then...
Sorry, my flag is falling asleep. Okay.
But then, they eat nonstop. They eat things that are bad. Like they're struggling with their health or weight, and nothing is stopping them. Like nothing is scaring them enough. Like buying bigger clothes, having cholesterol, blood pressure, whatever. That's still not a big enough sign for them to say like, maybe I should be careful with my food. And like, shame on our entire food industry, because there is absolutely nothing healthful on the television, in ads, when you go to the store, when you're checking out at the cash register. It's just all disgusting.
So bad.
Like you can't stop and buy, an organic smoothie, but you can stop 10 times on the road for fast food, right? You go into a gas station, you can't even get a banana half the time.
Finding a organic smoothie today is impossible. Robeck's closed.
I know.
Come on. Anyways.
I know we don't even have we have chain juice and smoothie places here, but not like an actual like.
Pulp is crap.
Yeah.
And so is that other smoothie place.
There's a Vitality Bowls near us.
Oh yeah.
It's
like $12 for a smoothie.
Yeah.
Okay.
CI bowls are like $15, but they're delicious.
I know. You go broke though.
So the other day I was speaking to some people at a gathering, and I was like, wow, like there was a couple. I'm like, you guys look fantastic. And I had noticed that the wife looked really different. And then when they were both sitting near each other, I'm like, you guys look great. Like, what are you doing? And the wife's like, oh, I've been eating less. I'm like, oh, wow. I mean, good job. Like, I don't know how much she lost. I wasn't going to ask, but it looked significant. So then I was talking to the husband, after she said that, he was like, and we're doing whatever
Ozempic.
It wasn't that, but it was something like that, right? The weight loss
drug.
Yeah, drug. And he was like, I've lost 40 pounds. I'm working out every day. I'm eating better. I'm doing this. He's like telling me about his experience, and his is not covered by insurance, but hers is. So, I guess him being 40 pounds overweight maybe wasn't enough for insurance to cover it. Maybe, I'm guessing. And maybe she had different health issues.
Maybe she had like more like blood pressure issues or like a heart congestion, whatever. Yeah. Okay.
So hers is covered. Regardless, you can still get it.
Yeah.
It's just, you're not going to get insurance to cover it. So then, he's telling me like, it's just helped him get motivated. He dropped this weight. He he's choosing better foods, you know, we're just talking. I guess the wife hasn't changed much of anything, but she's still, and actually another one of my friends that I was with like a month ago said the same thing. She's like, I could be doing better because I'm not doing anything but this. Like she hasn't really changed her diet or exercise routine. So, you know, apparently whatever. So
this reminds me of Adderall.
Yeah.
Adderall used to do the same thing.
Adderall, to be honest with you, for people who have compulsive eating, you would think that they would prescribe that only because
it focuses your attention somewhere else.
But that's the problem. Like, you know, just like when someone has impulse control issues, like children or whatever it is, like it would be the same thing. But so anyways, he was telling me that, or sharing with me that he just could eat and eat and eat and eat. He's like, and like, it doesn't matter how full I get, I would still continue to eat. And I'm like, listening, I'm like, damn, that's rough, you know? Cause like, I cannot stand being full.
Yeah.
I'm like miserable if I eat too much. And, you know, my husband can eat large quantities of food to where I'm like, and he can mix foods like, and go from like, you know, one, it's disturbing. I could not do that. So he was like, and now this like thing shut off in my brain to where I'm just don't have the appetite. Sometimes I have to force myself to eat. And then I was like, dang, I'm like, if they were to filter this drug, not that I'm for it because I would never risk it with the side effects, but like if they could really filter who needs this drug, not for like these Kardashian people who are using it, you know, just for weight loss, like people who really have problems like that, like they need that trigger in their brain to just stop. Like, you know,
do you feel like there's something more to that though? Like, is there something that made him like addicted to like wanting to eat or like that not wanting to stop? Like, is there some kind of like personal story behind that makes like food a comfort thing? Maybe.
I mean, I know that my husband will eat for comfort. My sister will eat for comfort. I could never relate to that.
I could never. If I'm stressed out, I am not. I'll forget to eat.
Right. I won't eat for. Yeah. So
if I guess if I'm just having like an argument with somebody, I can't.
My stomach shuts down. Yeah. So I don't know.
I don't know either.
But whatever it is, I think that if you could stop eating and drinking foods that have very harmful ingredients that cause that to happen, like there's such addictive ingredients in food that like it affects that part of your brain.
Yeah,
that it's like that otherwise that shut it down,
brings it up.
Yeah. So like, and so we don't know what people are eating. Like a lot of people say they don't eat a lot of fast food, but they're eating it 2 or 3 times a week. You know, I know. A lot of people say they don't, you know, drink pop, but then they're drinking the diet. You know, so there's so much garbage in our food that, I mean, don't think for once that they would be like, oh, we shouldn't put that in the food because that could make people addicted. Like they're putting addictive stuff in everything, especially fast food, you know, and everything like that. So, I mean,
it keeps you on the system.
Yeah. I don't think like God made your brain wrong and suddenly you can't stop yourself.
No.
Right. But if this drug is helping people like that, and you know, I'm not for, but I'm thinking, well, shit, you know.
But then like, here's the other extreme. I had a girlfriend for multiple years who was severely bulimic. Bad. Okay. And she would order, so she would only eat once a day. And she would go out because she just loved food and she could not stop eating. And she was never overweight that I saw, ever. But like she would, you know, hit up Wendy's, McDonald's, and Panera and go to all these places and make food. And then she would binge and then puke it all back up.
I think that's a little bit different.
I'm sure there's probably some kind of trauma that
there's like a psychological component to that.
But that's what I'm talking about though. Like I feel like with food, like there's always some kind of like psychological thing
100%.
behind it. Either, you know, from not wanting to stop eating, or from not wanting to eat at all. I don't know. I just feel like with a lot of these foods too, like you said, when we were talking about this beforehand, you can't go anywhere without food being presented.
Right.
You can't go to a party without seeing food. You can't go to the gas station without seeing food. You can't go to the grocery store or even to like the drugstore without walking by food. It's everywhere.
If you have a cocaine addiction or heroin, let's say cocaine, because that's a little bit like heroin, I know is incredibly
There's no Coke everywhere. Like,
you walk into the store.
Go
exactly. You're not just blowing lines at the family cookout.
Right.
Where people are drinking at the family. They're shoving their face with hot dogs at the family cookout.
Yeah.
You know, it's like that food you need to survive, food and water. Yeah. You don't need alcohol to survive. You don't need drugs. You know, you actually need food and water. So you can't say no to ever eating again.
Here's my thing though. I feel like once I found out like what's actually in the foods, chemical wise, and the additives and the coloring and what that does to you, now like I have a hard time finding food. You know, like I feel like I have the opposite problem now because I go to the grocery store. And
that's also an eating disorder.
Is it?
So there's something called why am I forgetting what it's called? When you analyze food and you don't eat, like if you're extreme in any manner and you take food groups out. You know what I'm talking about?
No.
Oh, okay. Hang on.
Is it removing actual food groups or just removing like preservative food to begin with?
Girl, I'm going to tell you something.
I just feel like once you're awake to whatever is in your food, like there's no going back, at least for me. Like you're not going to find me eating a bowl of Fruity Pebbles anytime soon, ever.
No.
Again, in my entire life. Like,
but I got to tell you what this one's called, okay? Because I can't believe I just forgot it. There's anorexia. When you don't eat. Bulimia. This is what you were just talking about. Binge eating disorder. Pica, that's when you like eat weird things and the textures and like soaps and like sharp things. You know what I'm talking about?
Okay, yeah.
That's a weird one. Okay. This is not called that. What is it called? They're calling it avoidant restrictive food intake disorder, but it's called something else too. And that maybe they changed, or orthorexia. Okay. Orthorexia is like super health conscious people, in my opinion. So they made it seem like, you know, anyone who's like really pushing and really strict with their diet is like orthorexic. Like a raw food diet would make me, like a strict raw food diet would make me orthorexic because I'm avoiding food groups and I'm restricting things and whatever. So basically, like that's an eating disorder. And it's like, I'm sure it's serious in some people's minds, so I'm not trying to downplay it, but like they present it as if
you're crazy,
you're extreme.
Or you have an extreme disorder because you want to eat healthy
like,
and not
all my life
packaged.
Being conscientious of what I'm eating, I would be crucified, whether it was like family, friends, public, school, whatever. And instead of what it should have been would be me being like, I cannot believe you're eating McDonald's. Like that is like, would I ever say that to someone? No. But they can say to me, isn't it a little extreme that you only eat XYZ? Isn't it a little extreme that like they can say that to me, but I cannot say the opposite to them, right? Otherwise I'm rude, bashing people, whatever. Like that's just normal. I'm not normal.
So but that's how they do it though. Like they're, you know, now like they call it fat shaming, but I don't see anyone fat shaming. Now I'm seeing people being praised for being curvy and everything, you know? And like, I remember I got comments before about being skinny, you know, eat a cheeseburger or whatever. Okay. How about you eat a fucking salad? How about that? Like, is that okay for me to say? I would be crucified if I said that.
Yeah.
How about you don't eat your burger or your McDonald's? I just feel like
but you wouldn't want to say it to anyone because it's like rude.
Yeah.
And it's like hurtful or whatever. So, but in the reverse, it's not. Right. So yeah, eating disorders are there's a big psychological component to that, and you know, I don't know.
All I know is so different nowadays too, compared to like even when we were kids.
Yeah.
I just had that talk with my mom the other day. They brought over Arby's for my son to eat, and I literally flipped the lid. I'm like, do not force him to eat that stuff. Come on, Holly. Like, you had curly fries growing up. Like, you're fine.
I know. You had that. It's okay. Yeah. It's like, yeah, I know. But so, like, what I told you is, like, anytime, like, somebody says, like, we ate that, we were fine, but we're not fine. Baby boomers all the way through millennials are not fine. They're not.
Right.
They have multiple lifestyle diseases, okay, like type 2 diabetes, hypertension, cholesterol, infertility's on like ridiculous rise, right? even
cancers.
So. Yeah. And then not to mention all that. I'm like, so are we okay?
No.
Are you really going to say what we did in the 60s, 70s, 80s made us okay?
Well, and if that being said too, is now that we know what's in this food, like you can't look at me now and tell me that like this food is healthy to eat now more than it was a couple of years ago.
No, it's getting worse.
Now that we know what's in the food, science. Why is it okay? It's not okay.
New chemicals are added. No, I agree. So yeah, that is and food, what people don't understand is also blocking your spiritual walk, because the more processed food you're eating and the more clogged up your system is, your gut isn't functioning well, your brain isn't on point, and therefore your ability to really connect spiritually isn't there. I cannot tell you how in tune I was when I was like eating mainly raw. I mean, I'm talking like it's sometimes like uncomfortable to be around other people because you're like on another level. Mm-hmm. And I don't say that in a boasting way. I say it it's wild. Like your clarity is insane.
It's crazy. I never really realized before how much like food could fog up your brain.
Oh yeah.
But like I see it now. Like even when like if I even have like a little snack, like my husband brought home some kind of cake from it was like from Amish country or something like that.
Tasty little treat.
Yeah, it was so good. But afterwards, like you feel like kind of like like tummy funk afterwards. You're like,
yeah. So there's just, I mean, it's all there.
So I just feel like so really, I mean, like it's just the overindulging anything that's really not good.
Right.
At the end of the day.
And I know we want to get into commandments and laws soon here. Today's not the day for it, but I'm sure
we're feasts. We had some revelation with the feast. Yeah. Well, I'm not sure if it was really revelation. Well, I mean, that was actually a big revelation for me because kind of confirmed everything that I needed to know.
Right.
Over time.
So we're going to elaborate on that.
Yeah.
But I ran into some when we were doing like kind of like looking into Proverbs, and I felt this was a good connection. The opening up, like, you know, abusing substances kind of opens you up to a different spiritual realm, right? Mm-hmm. And I kind of mentioned before about, you know, relationships, marriages, and things like that, how it kind of it leads people down a destructive path and like opens up your household to different spirits and things like that could take over. And in Proverbs, do you have Proverbs?
Yeah.
7:2-5.
Keep my commandments and live. Keep my teaching as the apple of your eye. Bind them on your fingers. Write them on the tablet of your heart.
That's Proverbs 7:2-5. I'm
sorry. I'm going to keep going. Say to wisdom, you are my sister, and call insight your intimate friend. So keep you from the forbidden woman, from the adulteress with her smooth words.
So that kind of came up today. And I was thinking, this note I wrote, barriers against sin are lowered when you are like strongly attracted to something or someone. Mm-hmm. So like if your inhibitions are down and you're around adulterous women or people, right? Mm-hmm. You know, that's going to like lead you down a potential path, and like, you know, being like steadfast in your self-control and like, you know, we are never protected from, you know, and when I say adulterers, like people coming into your life that can like potentially
make you stumble.
Yeah. And I think it's so smart when people are like, you know, I don't have social media because I have a problem with looking at girls or something like that. Mm-hmm. Or we're never alone with the opposite sex because out of respect for our marriage, you know what I'm saying? And like, if you really kind of set those tones, mm-hmm. like you're not having friends of the opposite sex, you know, like mm-hmm. that aren't our friends.
In the part of the circle. Yeah.
Yeah. Like otherwise, like that's just weird, you know? And I don't want to do that to anyone else. Like, I don't want to make someone's wife feel uncomfortable because we're playing pickleball and, you know, like
we're in a group text.
Right. That's weird. Right. Yeah. It's like not okay because think about what the wife would say, you know, stuff like that. And, Yeah. So I don't know.
Well, yeah. And especially if like if your husband's got a girlfriend that he talks like, and not even a girlfriend, but a friend that's a girl.
Oh, yeah.
And if she's got any kind of jealousy over you, like what is she going to put in his ear?
Oh, yeah.
As far as like, Marisa does this and this and whatever.
Exactly. We don't roll that way in our household. Because the crazy bitch will come out of me. Yeah. Not because I'm jealous, but because women should know better.
Well, and I think women a lot of times are the problem.
Yeah, they are. And if they're lacking in an area and somebody gives them attention, even if it's innocently, you just don't know where that could go.
Yeah.
And just like I wouldn't want to like give someone the wrong idea. I mean, a lot of guys seem harmless, and they probably are, but like, what's the point of, taking that, unless you're very unhappy and then you're willing to take that risk.
Right.
So
right.
That kind of all goes in the same kind of categories, I guess you would say.
Yeah. That's a good one.
Keep your nose clean, my mom would say.
It's good.
All right. Anything else?
No, I don't know. Not right now. Because I don't want to go on a whole nother tangent.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that we got back on.
Yeah, talk about alcohol. I mean, alcohol's been on my mind for a long time now.
Yeah.
Especially ever since Labor Day last year.
Right.
Because that changed a lot of my perspective. And I don't think I'm willing to let myself go to that level ever again.
Right.
Ever again.
That's
where
good.
I had like no control,
Yeah. Well, to sober girl summer.
Yeah. Sober girl summer. Our Celsius is nothing.
What's it called? Cyanides?
Cyanides in it, yeah.
All right. God bless y'all. Share.
Rumble. Go to Rumble.